There we go. Alright, cool. Alright. Hello, everyone out there on the internet. Let me start this video off with a little disclaimer. This video isn't edited in any sort of way, and it's not scripted either. So, it's a video I've been thinking of for a while. I'm going to kind of explore this topic at the same time I'm talking about it, but essentially I just want to talk about improvising within art. My experiences predominantly within music improvisation, but I'm starting to paint a little bit in my free time. I do a lot of photography and video style stuff, and one sort of principle that I've learned is that mistakes can kind of be a good thing. And in the last little bit, I've been really leaning into mistakes, really leaning into this idea of flow and letting the art kind of guide you through the artistic process, through the creation process. So, for example, I've been improvising a lot with music, and this isn't like improvising over chord changes and stuff like that. That is a certain type of improvisation. There's many different types of improvisation that have been established and that have some sort of rules and some sort of principles, whether that be your jazz music, simple jazz standard where there's, let's say, 32 bars of sort of the structure, the chord progression, and then you play the head, the melody, and then you improvise over those chord changes. So that's one principle of improvisation. Now there's also many different other principles of improvisation. So one of them that I kind of learned about recently is just like figure bass, how you play figure bass. And this goes back hundreds of years when you'd be reading a piece of music and they wouldn't write the chords out. They would write, the Roman numeral, which would tell you what chord it is within the key, and then numbers like 6/4 and all that stuff, which tells you the inversion. But then you have to kind of come up with the bass, how to play the bass, based off of the given material. But anyways, that's deviating kind of from my point. That's improvisation in kind of a mainstream sense, in a sense that it has foundation and there's a right way to do it. The improvisation I'm talking about that I think will allow you to create music, or any art for that matter, is sort of free-based improvisation. Any type of improvisation that allows your own personal voice and sound come through the artwork. To kind of get to this point of being able to do this, I think you have to understand the concept of flow, of what a flow state is. A flow state is, we have a lot of different terms for what I consider a flow state. A very popular term within my generation, especially being at school and studying really hard, is the term locking in. You're really locking in. Everyone uses that. I got an exam to study for, I'm going to lock in. And to me, this is a flow state where time seems to pass like that, and this is how I experience it. It's almost like you turn off your analytical brain and embody the activity that you're doing. So, for example, if I'm playing my guitar, I can really think hard about what to play, what might sound good, and there's certain scenarios where that might be appropriate. Of course, if you're a session musician, that's always what you're thinking. But that doesn't really have sort of a... You aren't putting your creative voice into that. So focusing on, let's say, your personal art, that comes when you really lose track of time. I feel like I'm restating myself. Like I said, I'm exploring this concept as I'm making this video. But yeah, I'm going to backtrack a bit. I'm going to go back to the improvisation I'm talking about that will help you create better art and music. The improvisation is that allows you to get your own personal artistic voice across. Sorry, got into it there. So, what do I mean by this? I went into talking about a flow state, and I'm having trouble describing what a flow state is. That's, I think, what I'm doing. But it's equivalent to when we say, oh, you're locking in, or like athletes talk about being in the zone. So you want to get to that point where you're able to be in that flow state, where ideas come to you, and you're essentially an antenna. I like to say that I'm an antenna sometimes because it feels like the ideas come to me. You just have to be open to them and they will come. So I kind of exercised this a little bit over the past couple of months, and some future work that I'm about to put out very, very soon will reflect the work I did on playing within a flow state and creating within a flow state and improvising within a flow state. So for example, what I started to do was I would play drums and I would just play. Whatever was coming to me, I was just complete flow state playing, you know. And then when I was finished, I'd pick up the bass guitar and just play. And then I'd go to the guitar and I would just play. And it started off as a way to kind of break away from traditional sort of ways of playing music. And I think a lot of artists struggle with trying to find their own voice. And I think experimentation with improvisation, and I'm talking about free improvisation, where you turn every sort of analytical thinking and any sort of like judgment goes out the window. Judgment of yourself goes out the window. And you literally just start playing. Things will come to you. And those things are authentically you, because they're coming within somewhere, coming out somewhere like within you, and your brain isn't fucking with it. It isn't fucking it up, you know? And that goes back to the antenna idea. You know, we're all antennas. We all have access to ideas, different ideas. And our reaction to those ideas when those ideas come to us are always authentic, right? But it's our own personal thinking and our own personal kind of getting in the way that always kind of taints those ideas, and I personally feel I can always tell when art has been kind of messed with. Those ideas have been messed with and have been tried to try to take control of them. And I don't think it doesn't serve the idea well. So what I love about creating, whether it be music or photography or painting or drawing or writing and poetry and anything that I do, is this sense of not thinking too much. Just stop thinking. And then afterwards, you do your thinking. You apply meaning. You read into it. But when you're creating, you have to be free. You have to treat it like a meditation. And then when you implement the improvisation, it's almost impossible not to improvise within that state. That state of meditation, that state of flow state. Because that's when the authentic side of you kind of comes out. So the recordings I made where I was fully improvised, I said, wow, okay, I can really hear my style. My own physical style, the way I physically play the guitar, but also the sonic tendencies I kind of go for. And you learn to cherish all those musical tendencies, all those artistic tendencies. And then, when you move towards creating art that's maybe more mainstream or a little bit more thought out or even more focused, you can apply those artistic tendencies to that work, and it will sound like you. And yeah, sorry if this is all really disconnected sounding. I hope you can kind of get something out of it. I spent a lot of time thinking about how I was gonna record this video and what I was gonna talk about in the points, and I just really couldn't get it through my head, so I kind of just improvised the video. But I don't know, the key takeaway is improvising will help you create better art, in my case better music, because it helps you get out of your own way. It helps you fall into those flow states more. It helps you discover your artistic tendencies, and then you're able to apply them to your work. That is the main takeaway from this video, I think, and what I'm trying to say. Improvise and you'll make better art. I think that's true. And that improvised work doesn't even need to be the work that you show. But I think improvising in practice, being able to adapt, react, stay on your feet as an artist and do that is very important. There's a lot of musicians I talk to that can't do that. But I suppose that's the distinction between the words artist and musician, or artist and performer. They're different things. Even though they're in the world of art, I wouldn't call someone a musician an artist. Artists can be musicians, but if you're a musician alone, you can be a musician without being an artist, but if you're an artist, then you're probably a musician in a musical context. But yeah, I don't know. Improvising is important. Checking out those ideas, being an antenna, going into a flow state. I'm repeating myself, so I'm gonna wrap this up now. But yeah, let's wrap it up. Like I said, I'm gonna try and do more of these videos where I'm just talking. It's a little bit of a log of sort of what I'm thinking about at certain times. And I'm kind of making these videos for myself, really, as a way to kind of, as like a creativity journal kind of thing, talking about creativity and my own work and stuff, as well as I think it maybe gives my own work a little bit more sort of context. Like, I don't really like artist statements, but I think if I can just kind of come on here and talk about my opinions and views and kind of spark up conversation, maybe, like in the comments section, if you have anything to say to what I'm saying right now. Even if you have different thoughts, like, please say them, because through making these types of videos, which I want to do more of, I want to broaden my horizons, broaden my thinking, as well as maybe like put out some of my own personal thoughts, as well as my own work. And yeah, my whole idea was this could be like, these types of videos could be like artist statements without being obnoxious. Yeah, and kind of just share what I'm thinking, and maybe you're able to see, like, if you listen to my music or like my work, you can kind of see into how I think and who I am, and kind of how that reflects in the art, and maybe it gives you a bit more context to the work itself. So yeah, that's kind of my idea on that, on these videos. I like them unscripted and unedited, and to me that seems very authentic. And they're probably not going to get a lot of views at all, but they're kind of for the people that listen to my music. Or, I mean, these videos are made for the types of people that will enjoy these types of videos, so I guess people that are kind of like me. And then maybe you find these videos and then you go and listen to my music and you like that. But yeah, I'm going to make more of these, and I'm just going to come on here and talk about whatever I'm feeling, thinking, or yeah, whatever I'm feeling or thinking about. I'll come on here and talk about it, I think once a week maybe. But yeah, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, is the need for improvisation. And that can mean so many different things. Like, for me, to improvise is to breathe, and we're always improvising in life. And being able to improvise within your art, within your craft, yeah, that's cool. I like that. And I love doing it, so. Anyways, I'll shut up. Thanks for watching. Please comment if you have any thoughts or whatever, and if you liked the video, that's cool. If you didn't, that's also cool. Yeah. See ya. Thank you. Bye.